Hi, everybody. Tonight, we embark on a journey to a time both wild and strangely familiar, a place where the horizon stretches wide and endless beneath a vast sky, the Wild West. Our story will take us into the heart of this rugged land, where survival meant more than mere existence. It was a delicate dance with danger, a lesson in resilience, and a quiet understanding of the land and its many mysteries. Over the course of these 20 parts, I will guide you through the slow rhythms of frontier life, the subtle wisdom needed to endure, and the hidden tales whispered by the wind through the prairies and canyons. Imagine yourself waking to the soft glow of dawn, the air crisp and fragrant with sagebrush and pine. The sun rises steadily, casting long shadows that shrink and stretch across the dusty ground. Here, in this vast expanse, every sound, every rustle, and every breath of wind carries meaning. It's a world where patience and observation can be the difference between life and death. As we walk through the stories of settlers, cowboys, native peoples, and the many travelers who sought fortune or freedom, you will come to understand that surviving the Wild West was not merely about weapons or bravado. It was about connection with the land, with those around you, and most importantly, with yourself. Each part of this tale will gently unfold the skills, the hopes, and the quiet fears that shape this extraordinary time. So settle in, breathe deeply, and allow the soft cadence of the West to carry you away into a world of vast skies and whispered secrets. This is how to survive the Wild West, and much more. Long before the first wagon wheels ground their way across the prairie soil, this land was a tapestry of life, woven with the steps of countless creatures and the flowing rivers that carved the valleys. The earth held stories beneath its surface, stories waiting to be uncovered by those who learned to read the signs of nature. The Wild West was not simply a place of open spaces, but a living, breathing world where every shadow and sound spoke to those who would listen. To survive here, one first needed to learn the language of the land. The rustle of leaves, the pattern of animal tracks, the shifting of clouds across the sky, each was a clue to what lay ahead. Hunters watched the flight of birds to find water sources. Settlers studied the way grass bent under the wind to gauge storms approaching. The land was both ally and adversary, demanding respect and quiet reverence. But survival went deeper than the physical. It required a mind prepared for uncertainty, a heart that could endure loneliness without breaking. Out here, where the night stretched long and stars blanketed the heavens like a delicate lace, many found solace in the simple rhythms of life. The crackling of a fire, the distant howl of coyotes, the steady breathing of a companion nearby. The early mornings often began with the sounds of a camp stirring, soft whispers, the clinking of tools, the gentle care of horses. Every task, from gathering water to tending a small garden, was infused with purpose. There was no room for haste. Every movement was deliberate, every decision weighed with care. Those who rushed or ignored the quiet lessons of the land often found themselves caught unprepared when danger came, whether from a sudden storm, a hungry predator, or the ever-present scarcity of food. One of the most essential lessons was the art of observation. To notice the subtle changes in the environment was to unlock the secrets that ensured safety. The color of the sky could warn of approaching rain, the shape of clouds foretold storms, and even the way insects moved across the grass whispered of temperature shifts. Those who learned to watch and listen became masters of their surroundings, able to move with confidence and calm even when faced with uncertainty. This careful attention to detail extended to the people as well. The West was a place of many travelers, each carrying their own stories, hopes, and fears. To survive meant to understand not only the land, but also the intentions of those who crossed your path. Friendships were precious and often forged slowly, built on shared meals and quiet evenings by the fire. Trust was not given lightly, but when earned, it became a lifeline. Throughout this vast wilderness, water was life. Streams and wells were treasured beyond gold, and their locations were often closely guarded secrets. The sound of running water was a balm to the weary, a promise of renewal. Without it, the harsh sun and dry winds would quickly wear down even the strongest of souls. Settlers learned to conserve water, to find moisture hidden in unexpected places, like the thick leaves of desert plants or the morning dew clinging to the grasses. Fire was another crucial element of survival. It provided warmth on cold nights, a means to cook, and a way to keep predators at bay. But fire also demanded respect. A careless spark could ignite the dry brush and turn safety into catastrophe. Those who understood the delicate balance of flame and ash knew how to build fires that burned steadily and died quietly, leaving only smoke to mark their presence. Food, too, was a constant concern. Hunting and gathering were daily rituals, but not always reliable. The seasons dictated what could be found: wild berries in the summer, roots and dried meats in winter. Preservation was an art form. Drying, smoking, and salting allowed settlers to carry the taste of summer into the cold months. Sharing food was a bond of community, an unspoken promise of mutual support. And then there were the nights, the long, quiet stretches of darkness that fell like a velvet curtain over the land. For some, these moments were filled with dreams of home and loved ones left behind. For others, the solitude was a test of spirit, a time when fears and hopes mingled beneath the stars. Many found comfort in rituals, the soft strum of a guitar, a whispered prayer, or the steady breath of a friend nearby. Through all these lessons, the greatest teacher was time itself. The Wild West moved slowly, patiently revealing its secrets to those who could wait and watch. There was a quiet beauty in this pace, a gentle unfolding that encouraged mindfulness and deep reflection. Life here was not about rushing toward a goal, but about being fully present with each moment, each step. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting the land in hues of amber and rose, the world settles into a peaceful stillness. The winds calm, the animals quiet, and the fire's glow softens to embers. It is in this tender pause that the spirit of the West truly reveals itself, steadfast, enduring, and quietly strong. Tonight, as you listen to this story, may you find yourself wrapped in the same gentle calm that carried the pioneers, cowboys, and wanderers through the wild expanse. Their story is one of patience, courage, and quiet strength, a reminder that even in the most untamed places, survival is woven from respect, care, and the deep rhythms of nature. And so, our journey begins. The morning light spills gently over the horizon, softening the rugged contours of the land with a pale golden hue. In this early hour, the Wild West feels almost tender, a vast, untouched canvas waiting for the day's brushstrokes. But beneath this calm lies a world of quiet challenges and subtle rhythms, each demanding its own kind of attention. To survive here meant understanding that the landscape was not just a backdrop, but a living participant in every moment of daily life. Travelers and settlers alike knew that the key to moving through this vastness was a steady, measured pace. The ground, often uneven and rocky, could betray the careless footstep with a twisted ankle or a stumble that left one vulnerable. Horses, too, needed care and patience, their strength tied to the rhythm of the rider's guidance. There was no room for haste in these wide-open spaces, no advantage in rushing ahead blindly. Instead, survival blossomed from a deep harmony with the land's own slow heartbeat. The trail itself carried stories in its grooves, the impressions of countless wagons, the soft prints of animals, the faint markings of those who had passed before. To read these signs was to gain wisdom. A careful observer might notice a fresh set of tracks that indicated danger or opportunity, or find a patch of disturbed earth revealing a recent camp. This knowledge, gathered slowly and silently, was as vital as any weapon or tool. Water, the most precious resource, demanded constant vigilance. Travelers carried skins filled at streams and springs, but these were never guaranteed to last. Sometimes one had to find water hidden beneath the sand or collect it from dew on leaves in the early dawn. The skill of knowing where and how to find moisture was often passed down through whispered advice around the campfire, or learned through years of quiet trial and error. On some days, the sun would blaze fiercely, baking the earth and turning the sky into a relentless, shimmering blue. The heat could drain strength quickly, making movement slow and deliberate. Shade was a rare treasure. Often only a single tree or a rocky outcrop offered respite. In those moments, survival meant resting and conserving energy, shielding skin from the burning light, and drinking sparingly but wisely. The winds that swept across the plains were another constant presence, sometimes gentle and cool, carrying the scent of wildflowers and fresh earth. They could shift without warning to fierce gusts that rattled tents and whipped dust into swirling clouds. Travelers learned to read the sky for signs of these shifts, to prepare their campfires, and secure their belongings before the storms arrived. The winds, both friend and foe, shaped the very shape of life here. At night, the vast darkness stretched endlessly, filled with stars like scattered diamonds on black velvet. This celestial canopy was both awe-inspiring and humbling, a reminder of the vastness beyond the immediate struggles of survival. The silence of night was profound, broken only by the crackle of fire, the occasional call of a night bird, or the distant howl of a coyote. Many found comfort in this quiet, a moment to breathe deeply and let the cares of the day slip away. The people who called the West home, or those just passing through, were as varied as the land itself. Settlers carved out farms and homesteads, driven by dreams of prosperity and a fresh start. Cowboys tended herds of cattle, moving slowly across the plains in endless cycles of care and vigilance. Native peoples lived with an ancient understanding of the land, their traditions and knowledge passed down through generations. Each group brought its own wisdom, struggles, and stories to the tapestry of this place. Among the settlers, there was often a deep sense of community born from shared hardships. Neighbors helped one another build shelters, mend fences, or gather crops before the frost. Meals were communal, and stories shared by firelight forged bonds stronger than steel. Yet beneath this cooperation was also a quiet tension, a recognition that resources were scarce and that every choice carried weight. Trust was precious and carefully guarded. For the cowboys, life was a rhythm of movement and care. They rose with the dawn to check the herds, listening for the lowing of cattle or the sharp bark of a dog. The day stretched out in a steady flow of riding, repairing, and waiting, punctuated by moments of calm and sudden bursts of activity when the cattle needed rounding or when danger lurked nearby. These men and women learned to read the moods of the land and the animals alike, developing a bond that was often spoken of in hushed respect. Native peoples of the region lived in deep harmony with their environment, their knowledge etched into every aspect of their daily lives. They knew the hidden places where water could be found, the seasons when particular plants bloomed, and the behavior of the animals they hunted and revered. Their stories, songs, and ceremonies held the memory of centuries, a spiritual thread that connected them intimately to the land. In their presence, the Wild West was not just a frontier, but a sacred home. Every traveler who ventured into this world carried their own dreams and fears. Some came seeking gold, drawn by the lure of quick fortune. Others fled troubles behind them, hoping to find peace in the open spaces. Many simply sought a new beginning, a chance to build a life untethered by the past. But all quickly learned that this place demanded respect, patience, and a willingness to adapt. The tools of survival were simple but essential. A sturdy knife, a reliable horse, a well-packed saddlebag, each played a vital role. Clothing was layered for changing conditions. Heavy wool for cold nights, lighter fabrics for the burning days, and sturdy boots to protect against the rough terrain. Each item carried the weight of practicality and care, chosen with an eye toward endurance. Shelter was a necessity, yet often humble. Tents made of canvas, cabins built from rough-hewn logs, or even natural caves provided refuge. The construction was slow and methodical, aimed at offering protection from weather and wildlife. Fireplaces or simple stoves warmed the space and cooked meals, their flickering light casting shadows that danced like memories on the walls. Even as the land could feel harsh and unyielding, moments of beauty and grace emerged quietly. A wildflower blooming against a backdrop of dusty plains, a clear night sky mirrored in a still pond, the gentle call of a songbird at dawn. All these small gifts offered solace and hope. They reminded those who lived here that beneath the surface of survival lay a deeper connection to the world's enduring wonder. So it was, day after day, season after season, that the people of the Wild West learned to live with uncertainty and change. They cultivated patience like a treasured skill, found strength in quiet moments, and wove their lives into the fabric of the land itself. Through it all, the slow, steady pulse of the West continued, a reminder that survival was as much about the spirit as it was about the body. As the sun climbs higher and the day unfolds, the soft breeze carries with it the stories of those who have walked these plains before. It whispers of courage and care, of hardships endured and quiet victories won. And it invites you to listen closely, to learn the lessons hidden in its gentle voice, and to find your own place within this timeless, wild expanse. The afternoon sun casts a warm, golden glow over the rolling hills and dusty trails, inviting a quiet stillness that settles deep into the bones. In the Wild West, these moments of pause were as vital as any action, offering space for reflection, rest, and preparation for the unknown hours yet to come. The land seemed to breathe slowly in these intervals, a gentle rhythm that carried with it both comfort and a quiet tension. The awareness that beneath the calm, life could change in an instant. One of the most essential lessons for anyone hoping to endure in this vast wilderness was to cultivate patience. It was a patient gaze that allowed a traveler to notice the subtle signs of rain in the sky or the faint tracks of a herd moving nearby. It was patience that steadied the hand when lighting a fire from dry twigs or that soothed the horses after a long day's ride. Without patience, the Wild West could be unforgiving, its challenges overwhelming and swift. Water, always precious, often dictated the rhythm of a journey. Streams and wells could be scarce, and travelers learned early that the search for water was never simply about quenching thirst. It was a test of observation and endurance. Some found water by following the flight of birds or the trails of animals who instinctively knew where to drink. Others learned to gather dew from broad leaves or collect rain in makeshift containers. The land itself, in these moments, seemed to hold its breath, offering just enough to those who approached with respect. The nights brought their own lessons, wrapped in shadows and the quiet chorus of the wild. Around a crackling campfire, stories would drift into the cool air, tales of lost trails, sudden storms, or narrow escapes from danger. These stories were shared softly, a mix of caution and wisdom passed from one traveler to another. They reminded listeners that survival was not a solitary endeavor, but a collective one, woven through the bonds of trust and shared experience. In these stories, the animals of the West often took on almost mythical roles. Coyotes, with their eerie calls, were both feared and respected as cunning survivors. Hawks soared high, their keen eyes watching over the land like silent sentinels. Even the smallest creatures, from ants to rabbits, became part of the larger story, teachers in their own right, showing how to adapt and thrive amid the changing seasons. The seasons themselves were a guide, shaping the activities and moods of the land. Spring brought a cautious renewal, as wildflowers timidly peeked through the soil and animals emerged from winter's shelter. Summer was a time of long, hot days when water was most precious and the sun seemed to hang heavy in the sky. Autumn offered a tapestry of color and a gentle reminder to prepare for the cold months ahead. And winter, though harsh and quiet, was a time of rest and reflection when the land slowed its pace and life pressed inward. To survive these cycles required more than skill, it demanded humility. The Wild West was a teacher that could not be rushed or coerced. It offered its gifts slowly, often testing those who came seeking to bend it to their will. Many learned, sometimes painfully, that respect for the land's rhythms was the key to finding safety and peace. Amidst these natural challenges, the human spirit found ways to create meaning and connection. Letters were written by candlelight, carrying hopes and news across great distances. Simple melodies floated from the strings of a worn guitar, their notes weaving comfort into the stillness. And the quiet moments spent watching a sunset or tracing the stars at night became a kind of meditation, a way to find stillness in a world of constant change. The attire of those living in the West spoke of their adaptation to the environment. Broad-brimmed hats shielded faces from the relentless sun, while bandanas offered protection from dust and wind. Leather boots, worn soft and supple, told stories of miles traveled over rocky ground. Every stitch and fold was practical, designed not just for survival, but for a life lived in intimate dialogue with the land. Community, though often sparse, was a thread that wove many lives together. Settlements were scattered, sometimes miles apart, connected by shared labor and mutual aid. Neighbors exchanged goods, helped with barn raisings, or came together to celebrate small victories, like a successful harvest or the birth of a calf. These connections were fragile, yet precious, reminding all that even in a land vast and wild, no one was truly alone. Yet the West was also a place of solitude. Many faced long stretches of isolation, their only companions the whispering wind and the endless horizon. This solitude could be both a burden and a blessing. It tested one's inner strength, forcing a deep reckoning with fears, hopes, and the quiet voice within. For some, it sparked creativity, a journal filled with observations, sketches of the landscape, or poems born from the silence. The skills passed down through generations formed a quiet legacy. Knowledge of edible plants, the signs of weather, the ways to mend a broken wagon wheel. These were treasures exchanged without fanfare, but held with reverence. Each piece of wisdom was a link in a chain that connected the past with the present, ensuring that the hard-won lessons of survival endured. In the evenings, as the sky deepened to a rich indigo and the first stars began to twinkle, the fire's warmth gathered those near. Conversations slowed, voices softened, and a peaceful rhythm took hold. The crackling embers seemed to whisper stories of resilience and quiet courage, tales of lives shaped not by grand gestures, but by steady, unyielding endurance. Through all these elements, the land, the seasons, the people, the Wild West revealed itself not as a place of chaos, but as a realm of profound balance. Survival here was not a frantic struggle, but a patient dance with nature's subtle cues. It was a slow, gentle unfolding of understanding and respect, a reminder that even in the wildest places, life could find a way to thrive with grace. As the night deepens and the fire's glow softens, the West invites a moment of calm reflection. Here, in the quiet between breaths, lies the heart of survival, not in force or haste, but in presence, patience, and the steady embrace of the land's enduring spirit. The dusk settles slowly over the vast expanse, painting the sky in gentle shades of lavender and rose, a quiet invitation to pause and listen to the whispers of the land. As the day wanes, the Wild West reveals a softer side, one that contrasts with the harshness of its daylight trials. This delicate twilight hour carries a stillness that comforts the weary and stirs a deep, almost sacred awareness of place. In these moments, the true nature of survival begins to unfold, not only as a physical necessity, but as a way of being, rooted in observation and reverence. The land itself, with its sprawling plains, rocky ridges, and whispering grasses, seems to breathe alongside those who dwell within it. Each inhalation and exhalation a subtle reminder of the interconnectedness of all life here. Survival in this expansive world required more than just knowledge of tools and terrain. It demanded a certain kind of attentiveness, a mindfulness that transformed every act, no matter how small, into a thread in the fabric of existence. The way one gathered firewood, the care taken in preparing a simple meal, even the soft steps to avoid startling wildlife, these were all gestures of respect and harmony. The quiet chorus of the evening, crickets, distant owls, the gentle rustling of leaves, became a kind of lullaby, soothing and steady. Many who lived in the West found themselves attuned to these natural sounds, learning to read their rhythms and meanings. An increase in owl calls might signal a change in weather, while the sudden silence of smaller creatures could warn of approaching danger. The land communicated constantly, offering clues and guidance to those patient enough to listen. Nightfall also brought with it a deepened sense of connection to the vastness overhead. Without the artificial lights of towns and cities, the stars shone with an almost overwhelming brilliance, their constellations familiar companions in the solitude. The sky's grandeur invited stories of journeys, of ancestors, of dreams carried on the winds. These stories often passed quietly between friends gathered by firelight, each tale weaving a sense of belonging into the endless night. At the heart of survival was a steady balance between independence and interdependence. While the frontier called for self-reliance, it also fostered communities bound by shared experience and mutual aid. Neighbors would check on one another, offer a hand in times of trouble, and gather for celebrations that punctuated the long cycles of work and rest. These moments of togetherness were a balm, nourishing the spirit and reinforcing the fragile web of trust that held frontier life together. The tools and skills of the West were simple but owned with care over time. A well-crafted rifle was not just a weapon, but a means of sustenance. Its maintenance, a ritual of patience and precision. Saddles and bridles were carefully tended, for a horse was more than transportation, it was a partner in survival. Even the humble knife carried stories of its maker and its owner's journeys, worn smooth by years of use and repair. Food was gathered with both practical skill and an understanding of the land's generosity and limits. Hunting required stealth and patience. A successful catch was a triumph celebrated quietly but deeply. Wild plants were harvested carefully, knowledge of edible roots, berries, and herbs passed down like precious heirlooms. Preservation techniques, smoking, drying, salting, ensured that the bounty could sustain through the harsher seasons when the land's offerings grew scarce. The weather, ever unpredictable, shaped daily life with a steady hand. Thunderstorms could roll in suddenly, darkening the skies and turning dry dust into thick mud. The arrival of winter brought sharp cold and deep snow, demanding preparations that began long before the first frost. Clothing was layered for warmth, fires were built strong, light and provisions stored carefully. These cycles of change were reminders of nature's enduring power and the human spirit's quiet resilience. The sense of solitude that often accompanied life in the West was both a challenge and a gift. It invited reflection, self-reliance, and a deepening of inner strength. For some, this solitude sparked creativity, a sketch in a leather-bound journal, a song hummed softly beneath the stars, or a whispered prayer carried on the wind. These small acts of expression became anchors, tethering the soul amidst the vast openness. Amid all this, respect for the indigenous people's knowledge and connection to the land was essential. Their understanding of the environment was profound and deeply spiritual, offering lessons in sustainability and harmony. Though interactions between settlers and native communities were often fraught, the wisdom held by the latter was a quiet undercurrent, a reminder of a time and relationship far older than the new trails carved into the earth. As the night deepens, the fire's warmth invites a gentle stillness. Eyes grow heavy, breath slows, and the land's vastness folds into a comforting embrace. Here in the quiet dark, survival is felt not just in the body, but in the heart, a delicate thread woven from patience, respect, and the steady rhythms of a life attuned to the wild and wonderful West. The first light of dawn arrives slowly, brushing the horizon with soft hues of pink and orange. The world seems to hold its breath in that fragile moment between night and day, as if waiting to be gently awakened. In the Wild West, this quiet arrival of morning was more than just a new beginning. It was an invitation to engage once again with the land's endless, unfolding rhythm. As the sun climbs higher, its warmth spreads gradually over the plains, coaxing the earth and all its inhabitants into motion. The air fills with a subtle chorus, the low murmur of a distant stream, the flutter of wings as birds awaken, the rustle of leaves as a breeze stirs the grass. These soft sounds form a soundtrack to the daily dance of survival, each note a reminder that life here is a continuous exchange between human and nature. For those living close to the land, morning was a time of preparation and renewal. Tasks were approached with deliberate care, tending to horses, checking the condition of tools, inspecting food stores. The day's work was often long and demanding, but there was also a sense of purpose and calm in these rituals. Each small action was a thread woven into the fabric of survival, steady and unhurried. Water continued to hold a sacred place in this world. Travelers learned to respect its scarcity, guarding every drop as if it were a precious jewel. Wells were carefully maintained, and streams approached with reverence, for they were lifelines threading through the arid landscape. At times, the search for water became a silent pilgrimage, guided by the tracks of animals or the shadows cast by distant hills. The importance of observation deepened with every day. The land offered subtle signals. The way clouds gathered against the horizon, the scent of wet earth after a rare rain, the sudden quiet of birds perched still and watchful. These clues helped predict weather changes and prepared settlers for the challenges that might lie ahead. To ignore them was to invite hardship. To embrace them was to walk in harmony with the wild pulse of the West. Food remained a careful balance between abundance and scarcity. Garden patches tended by settlers yielded tomatoes, beans, and squash, their green leaves shining with morning dew. Wild game, rabbits, deer, and sometimes even the elusive pronghorn, offered sustenance for those skilled in the hunt. Gathering wild herbs and berries was a practice that connected people intimately with the cycles of growth and decay, a reminder that life was a gift to be honored. The seasons shaped every facet of daily existence. Spring's promise of renewal inspired hope and hard work as fields were plowed and seeds planted with patient hands. Summer's heat demanded endurance and shade, while autumn called for the gathering of harvest and preparation for the cold. Winter's chill wrapped the land in quiet blankets of snow, a time when stories by the fire grew long and deep, weaving memory and wisdom into the fabric of the night. The clothing worn was practical and symbolic, a reflection of adaptation and resilience. Coarse wool and sturdy leather protected against wind and cold, while lighter fabrics offered relief from the sun's harsh rays. Hats with wide brims shielded faces, and bandanas served as dust guards during long rides across open plains. Every garment carried the marks of hard use, its worn edges a silent testament to countless days under open skies. The relationship between people and animals was profound and multi-layered. Horses were companions and lifelines, their strength and spirit deeply respected. Caring for them meant more than feeding and grooming. It was an ongoing dialogue, a connection built on trust and understanding. Dogs, too, played roles as protectors and friends, their keen senses alerting to danger and their loyalty unwavering. Community bonds, though sometimes stretched thin across vast distances, remained essential. Settlements formed pockets of shared life where people gathered to work, celebrate, and support one another. Neighbors lent tools, shared stories, and exchanged help in times of need. These connections were delicate but deeply cherished, offering warmth in a world where isolation could be profound. The quiet solitude of the West was often a companion as much as the people who lived there. Moments alone under the endless sky invited reflection, a chance to listen to the heart's quiet whispers. Some found solace in writing letters home, others in sketching the landscape, and many in silent prayer or meditation. This solitude nurtured inner strength and clarity, qualities as vital to survival as any physical skill. Respect for the indigenous knowledge of the land was a subtle but persistent presence. Native peoples' deep understanding of plants, animals, and natural rhythms offered insights that settlers sometimes struggled to grasp. Though history wove a complex tapestry of conflict and coexistence, the wisdom of the land's first inhabitants remained a quiet undercurrent, guiding those willing to listen. As the day stretched on, the sun's light shifted from gentle to fierce, marking the passing hours with warmth and shadow. The land, alive with movement and sound, whispered stories of endurance and grace. Each breath drawn was a communion with this vast, wild place, a reminder that survival was not a single act, but a lifelong journey, woven from patience, respect, and quiet courage. In this unfolding day, the West reveals its timeless rhythm, a steady pulse beneath the changing light. It calls to those who seek not just to endure, but to belong, to move with the land's gentle power, and to find in its vastness a place of peace and purpose. The journey continues, slow and steady, carried forward by the whispers of wind and the soft steps of those who listen. The heat of midday settles heavily over the land, wrapping the plains in a thick, shimmering haze. In this hour, the Wild West seems to pause beneath the sun's relentless gaze, as if holding its breath in quiet endurance. The air feels dense and still, save for the occasional distant call of a bird or the faint clatter of hooves on dry earth. This was a time to slow down, to find shade and respite, and to listen carefully to the subtle murmurs of the world. Survival in these moments required a delicate balance between conserving energy and remaining vigilant, between resting and preparing for the challenges yet to come. The heat could sap strength quickly, turning even the most routine tasks into arduous endeavors. Water became not only a source of life, but a precious reprieve, its cool touch a reminder of the fragile thread on which all depended. Those traveling or living in this harsh midday quiet knew the value of small rituals. They shaded themselves beneath wide-brimmed hats, wrapped bandanas around faces to keep dust and sweat at bay, and sought out the comforting stillness beneath the branches of lone trees or rugged outcrops. Sometimes a simple act, dipping a cloth into a bucket of cool water and pressing it to a flushed forehead, offered a moment of relief, a whisper of care in the vastness. Food, too, was approached with mindful care. Meals were often simple but thoughtfully prepared. Dried meat softened with water, a handful of wild greens gathered in the cool mornings, or fresh eggs from a small coop. Cooking fires, when lit in this heat, were tended with caution. Smoke drifted lazily upward, and flames were kept low, both to conserve fuel and to avoid attracting unwanted attention. In the quiet of midday, the land seemed to tell its own story, a story etched in the patterns of cracked earth, the slow sway of tall grasses, and the shadows that shifted imperceptibly with the sun's movement. Travelers learned to read these signs, recognizing where the soil might yield water beneath its surface or where the plants grew thick enough to offer shelter. Every detail was a guide, a clue to the hidden life beneath the apparent barrenness. The relationship between people and animals deepened in this stillness. Horses, often restless in the heat, were given water and shade, their soft breaths mingling with the whispers of the wind. Dogs lay quietly nearby, alert but conserving energy. Wildlife moved cautiously, seeking shelter or pausing in the cool of sparse shade. This shared endurance connected all creatures under the expansive sky, a silent pact of survival. Conversations, when they happened, were gentle and sparse. Words were spoken softly, conserving breath and energy. Stories might be exchanged, of narrow escapes, distant places, or the simple joys found in a freshly baked loaf or a rare rainfall. These moments of connection were lifelines, small threads weaving people together against the backdrop of solitude. The tools and gear of survival were tended carefully in these hours. Leather was oiled to prevent cracking, ropes coiled neatly, and weapons cleaned and secured. Each item was a trusted companion, worn smooth by use and cared for with patience. This quiet maintenance was a form of mindfulness, a way to honor the fragile balance of life in this demanding environment. Seasonal shifts, though subtle in the heat of the day, were never far from mind. Travelers and settlers alike knew that the arrival of autumn's cooler breath or winter's chill was inevitable. Preparation began long before the first frost, stockpiling food, reinforcing shelters, and mending clothing. These acts of foresight were silent assurances against the land's unpredictable moods. The solitude that often accompanied life here was both a challenge and a comfort. It invited a deeper listening to the heart, to the land, to the faintest sounds carried on the breeze. Many found themselves drawn into quiet contemplation, finding strength in the stillness and clarity in the gentle unfolding of time. Respect for the land's ancient rhythms was at the core of survival. The knowledge passed down by those who came before, of where to find water, which plants could heal or nourish, how to read the sky, was a sacred inheritance. Honoring this wisdom was a way of belonging, a recognition that the Wild West was not conquered, but lived within, its spirit embraced with humility and care. As the sun begins its slow descent, casting long shadows that cool the earth, the land breathes a little easier. The heat softens, and the promise of evening stirs hope and readiness. Life here moves with a quiet grace, shaped by cycles both harsh and tender. In this gentle balance, survival finds its truest expression, not in force or haste, but in patience, respect, and the steady unfolding of each new day. As the sun begins its slow descent toward the horizon, the landscape of the Wild West transforms once again. The harsh glare of midday softens into a warm amber glow that stretches across the plains and hills, casting long, gentle shadows. This hour, neither the heat of noon nor the chill of night, holds a special kind of calm, a quiet breath in the day's long rhythm. It is a time when the world seems to exhale, inviting those who dwell here to slow their pace and tune their senses. Evening brought with it subtle changes in the air. The wind, which had been still or harsh during the day, now softened into a cooler, soothing breeze. It carried with it the scent of wild grasses, earth, and distant pines, weaving a fragrant tapestry that wrapped around the weary traveler like a gentle embrace. For those attuned to the land, this shift in the atmosphere was a sign the day was coming to its close, and with it, the promise of rest and renewal. In this golden hour, survival took on a different rhythm. Tasks that had been paused during the heat of the day were resumed with careful attention. Horses were led to water, their coats glistening with the fading light, and their steady breathing a quiet reassurance. Tools and equipment were checked, repaired if needed, and readied for another day. These acts were done not in haste, but with the deliberate care that comes from understanding the value of preparation. Food, too, played its role in the settling evening. Meals were gathered or cooked, sometimes over a small, carefully tended fire whose smoke curled gently upward, disappearing into the vast sky. Simple fare, often shared among companions, became a moment of connection and comfort. The warmth of the fire and the sharing of food wove a thread of humanity through the wildness, grounding those who lived here in the bonds of community. As shadows lengthened, the land seemed to reveal more of its secrets. The fading light illuminated the contours of rocks and trees, the delicate outlines of flowers and grasses, and the glint of a distant stream. Creatures of the dusk stirred. Deer moved cautiously through the brush. Rabbits darted into their burrows, and birds called softly as they settled in for the night. For those watching quietly, this was a moment of deep communion, a chance to feel the pulse of the natural world in its subtle evening dance. The quiet conversations shared in this time were often filled with gentle reflections and soft laughter. Stories of the day's journey, memories of places left behind, and hopes for what the coming days might bring floated like wisps on the cool air. These exchanges, spoken in hushed tones, were more than just passing words. They were the threads that wove trust and belonging in a place where isolation could easily take hold. Preparation for the night was a ritual of both practicality and care. Tents were pitched or cabins secured, fires banked to last through the dark hours, and animals settled into their stalls or beds. Every movement was deliberate, every decision shaped by the understanding that night in the Wild West held its own challenges. The darkness could be as treacherous as any storm, and the quiet held both comfort and caution. The sky, now a deepening canvas of indigo, began to fill with stars. Without the interference of city lights, the night sky was a spectacular display, a glittering map that guided travelers and inspired dreamers alike. Constellations told stories of heroes and spirits, of journeys across time and space. Many found solace in gazing upward, their thoughts drifting on the vastness above, finding a sense of place in the endless cosmos. Even in these quiet hours, the land taught its lessons. The rustling of leaves might signal the movement of a nearby animal. The sudden chill in the air hinted at changing weather. Those who survived here learned to trust these subtle cues, to move gently and respectfully, knowing that every sound and shadow carried meaning. The presence of others, whether fellow travelers, neighbors, or the native peoples whose land this was, added another layer of complexity and richness to life. Bonds formed through shared experience offered safety and companionship. Yet there was also an understanding of boundaries and respect, a delicate balance maintained through unspoken agreements and gestures. This balance extended to the relationship between humans and animals. The horse, so vital to daily life, was treated with reverence. Feeding, grooming, and caring for these creatures was an act of love and necessity, a partnership forged through mutual dependence. Dogs, too, were loyal companions, their keen senses alerting to danger and providing comfort against the vast solitude. As night deepened and the fire's glow softened, a peaceful quiet settled over the camp. Eyes grew heavy, breath slowed, and the vastness of the West wrapped around its inhabitants like a protective shroud. In these moments, survival was felt not as struggle but as harmony, a steady rhythm of presence, patience, and trust in the enduring spirit of the land. Here, beneath the boundless sky and the whispering wind, the story of the Wild West continues, a tale not just of hardship but of resilience, connection, and the slow, gentle unfolding of life in one of the world's most wild and beautiful places. As the sun begins its slow descent toward the horizon, the landscape of the Wild West transforms once again. The harsh glare of midday softens into a warm amber glow that stretches across the plains and hills, casting long, gentle shadows. This hour, neither the heat of noon nor the chill of night, holds a special kind of calm, a quiet breath in the day's long rhythm. It is a time when the world seems to exhale, inviting those who dwell here to slow their pace and tune their senses. Evening brought with it subtle changes in the air. The wind, which had been still or harsh during the day, now softened into a cooler, soothing breeze. It carried with it the scent of wild grasses, earth, and distant pines, weaving a fragrant tapestry that wrapped around the weary traveler like a gentle embrace. For those attuned to the land, this shift in the atmosphere was a sign. The day was coming to its close, and with it, the promise of rest and renewal. In this golden hour, survival took on a different rhythm. Tasks that had been paused during the heat of the day were resumed with careful attention. Horses were led to water, their coats glistening with the fading light, and their steady breathing a quiet reassurance. Tools and equipment were checked, repaired if needed, and readied for another day. These acts were done not in haste, but with the deliberate care that comes from understanding the value of preparation. Food, too, played its role in the settling evening. Meals were gathered or cooked, sometimes over a small, carefully tended fire whose smoke curled gently upward, disappearing into the vast sky. Simple fare, often shared among companions, became a moment of connection and comfort. The warmth of the fire and the sharing of food wove a thread of humanity through the wildness, grounding those who lived here in the bonds of community. As shadows lengthened, the land seemed to reveal more of its secrets. The fading light illuminated the contours of rocks and trees, the delicate outlines of flowers and grasses, and the glint of a distant stream. Creatures of the dusk stirred. Deer moved cautiously through the brush, rabbits darted into their burrows, and birds called softly as they settled in for the night. For those watching quietly, this was a moment of deep communion, a chance to feel the pulse of the natural world in its subtle evening dance. The quiet conversations shared in this time were often filled with gentle reflections and soft laughter. Stories of the day's journey, memories of places left behind, and hopes for what the coming days might bring floated like wisps on the cool air. These exchanges, spoken in hushed tones, were more than just passing words. They were the threads that wove trust and belonging in a place where isolation could easily take hold. Preparation for the night was a ritual of both practicality and care. Tents were pitched or cabins secured, fires banked to last through the dark hours, and animals settled into their stalls or beds. Every movement was deliberate, every decision shaped by the understanding that night in the Wild West held its own challenges. The darkness could be as treacherous as any storm, and the quiet held both comfort and caution. The sky, now a deepening canvas of indigo, began to fill with stars. Without the interference of city lights, the night sky was a spectacular display, a glittering map that guided travelers and inspired dreamers alike. Constellations told stories of heroes and spirits, of journeys across time and space. Many found solace in gazing upward, their thoughts drifting on the vastness above, finding a sense of place in the endless cosmos. Even in these quiet hours, the land taught its lessons. The rustling of leaves might signal the movement of a nearby animal. The sudden chill in the air hinted at changing weather. Those who survived here learned to trust these subtle cues, to move gently and respectfully, knowing that every sound and shadow carried meaning. The presence of others, whether fellow travelers, neighbors, or the native peoples whose land this was, added another layer of complexity and richness to life. Bonds formed through shared experience offered safety and companionship. Yet there was also an understanding of boundaries and respect, a delicate balance maintained through unspoken agreements and gestures. This balance extended to the relationship between humans and animals. The horse, so vital to daily life, was treated with reverence. Feeding, grooming, and caring for these creatures was an act of love and necessity, a partnership forged through mutual dependence. Dogs, too, were loyal companions, their keen senses alerting to danger and providing comfort against the vast solitude. As night deepened and the fire's glow softened, a peaceful quiet settled over the camp. Eyes grew heavy, breath slowed, and the vastness of the West wrapped around its inhabitants like a protective shroud. In these moments, survival was felt not as struggle, but as harmony, a steady rhythm of presence, patience, and trust in the enduring spirit of the land. Here, beneath the boundless sky and the whispering wind, the story of the Wild West continues. A tale not just of hardship, but of resilience, connection, and the slow but gentle unfolding of life in one of the world's most wild and beautiful places. Night in the Wild West settled like a soft blanket, wrapping the vast open landscape in quiet darkness, punctuated only by the flickering glow of campfires scattered across the plains. The stars above shone with crystalline clarity, their ancient light traveling great distances to reach the eyes of those who paused beneath the immense sky. In this profound stillness, The world seemed to slow to a gentle rhythm, a pulse as steady and enduring as the land itself. For those living or traveling through this rugged wilderness, night was a sacred time, one that invited both rest and reflection. The trials of the day faded into memory, replaced by a calm attentiveness to the subtle sounds and shadows that filled the darkness. The whisper of the wind through sagebrush, the distant call of a coyote, or the rustle of nocturnal creatures moving unseen all became part of a delicate symphony that connected the living to the wild. Sleep was often a fragile gift here. The night carried its own dangers. Wild animals prowled unseen, weather could shift suddenly, and the solitude could weigh heavily on the spirit. Yet, within the careful preparation of camp, with fires banked low and watchful eyes never far from alert, there was a safety born of experience and respect. Those who survived learned to balance vigilance with surrender, knowing when to rest and when to awaken. The firelight cast dancing shadows that played across faces and tents, creating a space where stories blossomed like embers glowing warmly in the dark. These stories were more than entertainment. They were a way to pass knowledge, to honor ancestors, and to bind the group with shared understanding. Tales of past journeys, narrow escapes, and lessons learned carried the weight of wisdom and the lightness of camaraderie. Many found comfort in rituals, quiet prayers whispered to the night, songs hummed softly beside the fire, or the steady stroke of a hand against a trusted horse. These small acts anchored the heart, offering a sense of continuity amid the vast uncertainty. The land, though wild and often unforgiving, offered a gentle kind of acceptance to those who approached with humility and patience. The stars themselves were guides in the night, their patterns used to navigate the endless plains and winding trails. Travelers learned to read the constellations as a map, finding direction in the sky when the earth offered few landmarks. This celestial navigation was a skill passed down through generations, a silent conversation between human and cosmos. Animals of the night moved with a quiet grace, adapted perfectly to the darkness. Owls swooped silently through the trees, their keen eyes and ears attuned to the faintest movements below. Coyotes, ever cunning, communicated with mournful howls that echoed across the valleys. Even the smallest creatures played their part in the nocturnal rhythm, a delicate balance of life that thrived unseen. The sense of community, even in the vast solitude, was strengthened in these quiet hours. Those gathered around the fire shared more than warmth. They shared trust, protection, and hope. Bonds forged in daylight labor were deepened in the softness of night, creating a network of connection that was vital to survival. Yet night also offered moments of solitude, where one could be alone with thoughts and dreams. Many embraced this solitude, finding in it a chance to listen deeply, to the self, to the land, to the unspoken stories carried on the wind. It was in these moments that the spirit found rest, a quiet renewal to face the new day ahead. Preparation for dawn began quietly, with small movements around the camp as some roused to stoke fires or tend animals. The promise of a new day brought a gentle anticipation, a hope carried on the soft light of the approaching sun. The Wild West, in its endless cycles of night and day, revealed its timeless lessons once again. Survival was not merely enduring the hardships, but embracing the rhythms of the land with patience, respect, and grace. And so, beneath the vast star-filled sky, the story of those who lived in the Wild West continued, woven through moments of stillness and movement, solitude and community, challenge and quiet triumph. The night held its mysteries and its peace, a silent guardian watching over the land and all who called it home. The first light of morning creeps softly over the distant hills, washing the world in gentle shades of pale gold and lavender. The air is crisp and carries a faint promise of warmth yet to come. In the quiet moments before the sun fully awakens, the Wild West seems to hold its breath, wrapped in a peaceful hush that feels almost sacred. It is in these still beginnings that the day's journey finds its true grounding, and those who dwell here prepare to meet the land once more. Morning rituals unfold with calm precision. The soft stirrings of camp, tent flaps brushing gently in the breeze, the quiet murmur of water being drawn from a well, the low snuffle of horses eager to stretch their legs, create a soothing rhythm. Each action is deliberate, a mindful step in the ongoing dance with the wilderness. The day is young, and with it comes the opportunity to move forward, to explore, to endure. Water remains the lifeblood of every morning. Wells, springs, and streams are sought out with a reverence born of necessity. The cool liquid offers more than physical refreshment. It is a symbol of renewal and survival, a sacred connection to the earth's hidden veins. Many learn to read the landscape for signs of water, birds circling above, patches of lush vegetation, the scent of damp soil carried on the wind. These clues were treasured guides in a land where every drop mattered. The light reveals the landscape's textures. The cracked earth of dry riverbeds, the shimmering heat rising from sun-baked stones, the delicate outlines of wildflowers nodding in the breeze. Life here moves in quiet layers. The slow crawl of an insect across a leaf, the cautious glance of a deer stepping into the open, the far-off call of a hawk soaring against the endless sky. To survive was to become a part of this subtle choreography, to move gently and with awareness. Food gathering and preparation begin early. Some tend small gardens where beans, squash, and corn grow, their leaves damp with morning dew. Others prepare traps or set out on hunts, relying on patience and knowledge passed down through countless seasons. Foraging is an intimate act, knowing which berries are ripe, which roots are safe to eat, how to gather without exhausting the land's gifts. This careful stewardship is a silent pact with the earth, an acknowledgement of shared life. The animals that inhabit this vast expanse are both companions and challenges. Horses, vital partners in travel and work, respond to gentle hands and steady voices. Their breath mingles with the cool morning air, and their eyes reflect a calm intelligence born of trust. Dogs accompany many travelers, their keen senses alert to danger, and their presence a comforting constant amid the solitude. Seasonal shifts are never far from thought. As the year moves from spring into summer, the land changes its dress, from fresh greens and blossoms to the golden hues of ripening grasses. Each season brings new demands and new rhythms, and those who lived here adapted slowly, learning to listen to the earth's own calendar. Preparation was always underway, for rains, for droughts, for the chill that would eventually return with the winter. The sky itself is a teacher. Its changing moods, soft clouds drifting lazily, sudden bursts of thunder, the clear expanse of stars offered constant lessons. Weather was never taken for granted. A shift in wind direction, a thickening of clouds, the distant rumble of a storm could all signal changes that demanded quick response and careful planning. Communities, though often spread thin across the landscape, held moments of connection that fueled resilience. Neighbors checked on one another, shared tools and knowledge, and gathered for celebrations marked by music, food, and laughter. These gatherings were anchors in the long, often lonely stretches, weaving a social fabric that strengthened individual threads. Yet solitude remained a defining feature of life here. It was in the quiet moments, watching a sunrise, tracing animal tracks in soft earth, feeling the pulse of the land beneath bare feet, that many found a deep sense of belonging. This solitude invited reflection, creativity, and a kind of spiritual grounding that sustained the soul through hardships. The wisdom of the indigenous peoples who had long known this land lingered as a quiet presence. Their deep understanding of nature's cycles, their respect for the earth's gifts, and their stories passed down through generations offered invaluable lessons. For those willing to listen, the land whispered secrets only revealed through patience and humility. As the sun rises higher and the day unfolds, life in the Wild West moves forward with steady, deliberate steps. Every breath, every gesture is a thread woven into a larger tapestry, a story of survival, connection, and the enduring dance between humanity and the wild. In these soft, golden mornings lies the heart of a timeless journey, one that continues with every new dawn. The sun climbs steadily, casting a warm, steady light across the sprawling landscapes of the Wild West. The shadows retreat, and the earth is bathed in a glow that reveals every ridge, every tuft of grass, every weathered rock with startling clarity. In this unfolding day, the quiet pulse of survival beats steadily, an unhurried rhythm woven from countless small acts of care, attention, and resilience. The early hours are a delicate balance between motion and stillness. Travel resumes with a cautious energy, every step measured and deliberate. The terrain, though familiar to some, remains a complex puzzle of loose soil, hidden roots, and shifting stones. Each footfall demands respect. The land's subtle resistance reminds travelers that it is not merely a backdrop, but an active participant in their journey. Horses move with grace and power, their hooves striking the earth in steady cadence. These animals, essential companions in the wild, respond to the gentle hands and quiet voices of their riders. Their breathing, warm and rhythmic, creates a comforting counterpoint to the vast silence that stretches around. The bond between human and horse is more than utility. It is a partnership forged through trust and shared endurance. Water, as ever, remains a silent guide. Travelers scan the horizon for the shimmer of streams or the dark green of cottonwood groves, markers of life in an otherwise arid expanse. Access to water dictates routes and rest stops, transforming the journey from mere movement to a strategic navigation of nature's gifts and limitations. Wells and springs are precious knowledge, often guarded secrets shared only with trusted allies. The vegetation offers its own lessons and challenges. Wild grasses ripple in the breeze, hiding snakes or providing cover for small game. Thorny bushes and rugged cacti demand careful passage, their spines a reminder of the land's quiet defenses. Yet amid these obstacles bloom wildflowers, delicate bursts of color that speak of resilience and beauty in even the harshest conditions. Food gathering remains a mindful practice, deeply tied to the seasons and cycles of growth. Hunters move with patient stealth, tracking the faintest signs of deer or rabbits. Foragers collect berries and roots, their hands knowing which plants nourish and which could harm. Preservation is ongoing, a delicate craft involving drying, smoking, and salting to stretch the bounty through times when the earth offers less freely. The heat of midday brings a natural slowing. Shade, when found beneath gnarled trees or rocky ledges, becomes a sanctuary. Here, rest is not mere idleness but a strategic pause, a gathering of strength and calm before the next stretch of movement. The wind, ever-changing, may carry dust and scents, offering clues about weather and wildlife. Listening becomes an act of survival, attuning senses to the world's subtle messages. Community ties, though often stretched across great distances, provide a steady thread of support. Letters, carried by riders or passing travelers, connect distant homesteads and settlements. Word of shared hardships or news of changing conditions travels slowly but surely, weaving a network of communication vital to endurance. Neighborly visits, when possible, are marked by shared meals and exchanged stories, moments of warmth in an often lonely expanse. The clothing worn reflects both necessity and adaptation. Durable fabrics shield against sun and wind, while layers provide protection as temperatures shift. Hats with wide brims cast generous shadows, scarves and bandanas shield faces from dust. Every piece is chosen with care, worn and repaired to extend its usefulness. These garments bear the marks of journeys taken, storms weathered, and days spent beneath endless skies. Night approaches not just as an end, but as a beginning, an opportunity to rest, to reflect, to reconnect with the land and those who share it. As the sun dips low, the sky ignites with color, fiery reds and soft purples melting into the deepening blue of twilight. The coming darkness is never merely absence, but a realm filled with its own rhythms and secrets. Survival in the Wild West was never about rushing or force. It was about patience and presence, about listening deeply to the land and moving with care. It was about recognizing that every moment, every breath was a part of a larger story, a story of connection, endurance, and the gentle, unyielding pulse of life itself. In this unfolding day, as the light fades and stars begin to twinkle faintly, the quiet strength of the West reveals itself anew, timeless, enduring, and softly alive. As the sun dips ever lower, the sky transforms into a canvas of warm hues, soft golds melting into gentle pinks and deepening purples. The evening air cools gradually, carrying the faint, sweet scent of wild grasses and distant pine. This hour, suspended between day and night, offers a moment of quiet transition, a gentle sigh before darkness fully settles over the Wild West. Life slows to a measured pace. Travelers and settlers alike take pause, sensing the land's subtle shift. The harshness of the day's sun fades, replaced by the soft glow of twilight that casts long shadows and softens the edges of the rugged terrain. This liminal time is a gift, a chance to reflect on the day's journey and prepare for the quiet demands of the night. The horses, faithful companions through dust and distance, are tended carefully, watered and brushed, Their coats gleam faintly in the fading light. The bond between rider and steed, tested daily by long miles and changing weather, reveals itself in gentle gestures, a soothing touch, a whispered word, a patient hand. These animals are not mere tools, but partners in survival, their trust earned and returned with steadfast care. Campfires are rekindled, their flames small and controlled against the cooling air. The crackling embers send flickers of warmth and light into the gathering dusk, their smoke curling upward toward the emerging stars. Around these fires, the day's stories take shape, tales of narrow escapes, lessons learned, and quiet triumphs. These shared narratives bind people together, weaving a tapestry of connection amid the vast, often isolating wilderness. Food is prepared with simple care. The scent of coffee brewing over the fire mingles with the aroma of dried meat softened over embers. Meals are humble yet nourishing, often shared silently as eyes wander toward the horizon, watching the last light fade. This time of evening sustenance is both practical and sacred, a way to ground oneself in community and sustenance before the solitude of night. The land itself seems to hold its breath as the shadows deepen. Nocturnal creatures begin their cautious stirrings, the soft rustle of a rabbit in the brush, the distant howl of a coyote calling into the dark, the flutter of owl wings passing silently overhead. These sounds form a nocturnal symphony, a reminder that the world continues its cycles, seen and unseen. Survival in these moments calls for both vigilance and surrender. The night holds dangers, wild animals, sudden storms, the cold that seeps into bone and spirit. Yet it also offers profound peace, a space to listen deeply and rest fully. Those who knew the West well learned to navigate this balance, finding safety in preparation and comfort in the land's quiet embrace. The vast sky above reveals its endless depths. Stars emerge in brilliant clusters, constellations tracing ancient stories across the heavens. Many found solace in this celestial display, their thoughts carried upward on the cool night air. The sky became a compass and a confidant, a reminder of the vastness beyond and the continuity of life through countless generations. Within the small circle of light cast by the fire, conversations often turned soft and thoughtful. Questions of what lay ahead mingled with reflections on what had passed. Hopes and fears were shared quietly, their weight lightened by the presence of others who understood the land's demands. This fellowship, built on shared experience and mutual respect, was a lifeline against the wild's isolation. Clothing, layers adjusted as temperatures dropped, became a comfort. Blankets were wrapped tightly, hats pulled low against the chill. Every garment, worn and patched through long journeys, carried a story, a testament to endurance and adaptability. These clothes, like their wearers, bore the marks of countless sunrises and sunsets, storms weathered and miles traveled. As night deepened, the camp settled into a gentle rhythm. Breath slowed, bodies relaxed, and the world outside faded into a quiet murmur. Sleep came softly, a restorative balm that renewed strength and spirit. In this rest, survival found its quiet power, not in resistance, but in yielding to the land's timeless cycles. Under the wide, star-studded sky, the story of the Wild West continued to unfold, a story of resilience woven through moments of stillness and movement, solitude and connection. It was a tale whispered by the wind and carried on the gentle breath of the night, inviting those who listened to find their place within its enduring embrace. The sun's rays stretch slowly across the land, casting a warm, gentle light that dances over the rolling hills and wide open plains. The world feels alive yet calm, as if breathing in unison with the steady heartbeat of the earth itself. This time of day, the gentle ascent of morning into midday, offers a unique balance between promise and challenge, a delicate invitation to move forward with care and purpose. Travelers begin their day with steady steps, aware of the terrain's subtle shifts beneath their boots and hooves. The earth is a patchwork of textures, soft soil giving way to rocky outcrops, tall grasses waving in the breeze, and the occasional stubborn cactus standing sentinel. Each footfall is an act of attentiveness, a quiet conversation between person and land, learning to navigate with respect and patience. The heat begins to build gradually, soft at first, then growing insistent as the sun climbs higher. Shade becomes a coveted refuge beneath the sparse branches of juniper trees, beside cool rock faces, or in the sheltered hollows carved by ancient winds. These pockets of relief are moments to rest, to breathe deeply, and to gather strength for the journey ahead. Water remains the lifeblood of the day. Streams and wells are sought with intention, their presence a beacon of hope and renewal. Travelers move quietly toward these sources, mindful of leaving the land as undisturbed as possible. Every drop is treasured, every effort made to conserve and protect what nature provides. Water not only quenches thirst but renews spirit, a sacred element woven through every act of survival. The flora and fauna of the West reveal their own rhythms under the growing sun. Birds sing with urgency, insects hum tirelessly, and small mammals scurry through the underbrush. Awareness of these signs guides movement and timing, when to move swiftly, when to pause and observe. The land's inhabitants, though often hidden, are constant companions in this intricate dance of life. Hunting and gathering continue as essential tasks. Patience and skill intertwine, eyes sharp for movement, hands steady and gentle when gathering wild plants or roots. The knowledge of edible and medicinal flora is passed carefully through generations, a treasure of survival wisdom. Food is prepared with gratitude, each meal a quiet celebration of the land's gifts. The partnership with horses deepens throughout the day. Riders learn to read their mount's subtle signals, changes in gait, shifts in demeanor, quiet breaths that reveal fatigue or discomfort. Rest stops are timed not just for people but for animals, whose strength and spirit are vital to every mile traveled. Grooming and care become rituals of respect, moments to honor these loyal companions. The landscape itself teaches resilience. Winds carve patterns into the earth. Storms sculpt the sky with sudden ferocity. Droughts test endurance with relentless sun. Those who thrive here do so by listening, adapting, and moving with the natural flow rather than against it. This humility before the land's power is a quiet strength, a steady pulse beneath every decision. Community connections, though often distant, provide vital threads of support. News travels through letters and visits, carrying warnings, encouragement, and stories. These links remind all that survival is woven from both solitude and solidarity, from self-reliance and mutual aid. In shared knowledge and shared effort, the frontier finds its true spirit. Clothing worn reflects the day's demands. Light fabrics for sun protection, sturdy boots for rough ground, hats wide-brimmed to shield from glare and dust. Every stitch, every patch tells a story of endurance, adaptation, and careful preparation. These garments, like the people who wear them, bear the marks of countless days under the expansive sky. As the sun reaches its zenith, the world seems to pause, offering a moment to rest, to reflect, to connect with the steady pulse of life beneath the surface. In this balance of light and shadow, effort and ease, the story of survival unfolds. A tale of respect, patience, and the gentle, enduring rhythms of the Wild West. The afternoon sun hangs heavy in the sky, casting a golden haze over the rugged expanse of the Wild West. The heat, steady and unrelenting, wraps the land in a shimmering embrace, blurring the edges of distant ridges and softening the sharp outlines of rocks and trees. In this warm, slow hour, life moves with deliberate caution, every breath, every movement measured against the unyielding sun. Travelers seek refuge where they can, under the scant shade of a lone mesquite tree, beside a cool, rocky crevice, or within the sparse shelter of a weathered cabin. These moments of rest are more than mere pauses. They are essential acts of preservation. The body conserves energy, muscles relax, and the mind drifts into a quieter space where focus sharpens despite the lethargy that threatens. The land itself seems to pulse with a steady, ancient heartbeat. The grasses whisper softly in the breeze, the occasional buzz of a distant insect carries across the dry air, and somewhere unseen, a rabbit pauses in the shade, alert but calm. This slow, steady rhythm reminds all who dwell here that survival is not a frantic race, but a measured dance, one that honors patience and respect for the world's enduring cycles. Water, always precious, is a constant consideration. Streams may run low or disappear entirely during these hotter months, making every drop found a blessing. Travelers ration carefully, sharing with animals and using it sparingly in daily tasks. Wells and springs, when discovered, become oases not just of moisture, but of hope and renewal, their presence a quiet affirmation of life in a harsh land. The relationship between humans and animals deepens in these quiet hours. Horses stand patiently, their breath slow and steady, trusting their riders to care for them with gentleness and attentiveness. Dogs rest nearby, alert yet relaxed, their keen senses always ready to warn of approaching danger or opportunity. Together, these companions form a circle of trust and survival, bound by shared endurance and mutual reliance. Hunting slows in the heat, but the knowledge of the land remains keen. Tracks left in the soft earth reveal the presence of game, the direction of movement, and even the time passed since an animal's journey. Foragers look to the shadows beneath bushes and the cooler patches of soil where edible plants might thrive, gathering with care to sustain themselves without exhausting the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Meals in the afternoon are often light, designed to nourish without overwhelming. Dried meats, fresh berries, and hardtack are staples, sometimes softened with water or steeped in herbal teas made from wild plants known for their calming or revitalizing properties. These simple foods are more than sustenance. They are threads connecting the present to a lineage of survival and wisdom passed through generations. The heat encourages a slower pace of conversation and movement. Voices soften, laughter becomes a gentle ripple rather than a burst, and gestures grow deliberate and unhurried. In these moments, bonds deepen, not through grand declarations, but through shared silences, small acts of kindness, and the quiet acknowledgement of mutual struggle. The sun's descent begins to cool the air slowly, and with it comes a subtle shift in energy. Shadows lengthen, colors deepen, and the promise of evening stirs a gentle awakening. Preparations start for the coming night, fires readied, shelters checked, animals tended. Each act carries a weight of care and anticipation, a ritual honoring the cycle that turns day into night. The wide sky, still bright but softened by the approaching dusk, invites reflection. Its vastness reminds all who gaze upward of their small place within a larger story, one woven from the threads of earth and sky, of past and future, of endurance and hope. In this gentle twilight, the spirit finds a quiet strength, ready to meet whatever the night may bring. Here, in the warm, fading light of afternoon, the Wild West reveals its enduring truth. Survival is a tapestry woven from patience, respect, and the quiet rhythms of the land. It is not merely a story of hardship, but a testament to the gentle resilience that carries life through even the harshest days. As the sun lowers toward the horizon, the vast expanse of the Wild West softens under a wash of warm amber light. The land, which seemed so harsh and unyielding under the midday blaze, now reveals a different face. One of gentle contours, shimmering grasses, and shadows stretching long and slow across the earth. This golden hour is a quiet blessing, a time when the wildness of the day begins to fold into the calm embrace of evening. The air cools gradually, carrying with it the faint scent of sage and earth warmed by the sun. Travelers pause in this peaceful interval, tending to their horses and preparing for the night ahead. There's a rhythm to these moments, a steady, unhurried cadence born from years of living in harmony with the land's shifting moods. Each breath taken in this soft light feels deeper, more connected, as if the very air carries a promise of rest and renewal. Campfires are rekindled with care, flames flickering gently against the gathering dusk. The smoke curls upward, mingling with the first stars that begin to pierce the evening sky. Around these fires, voices lower to a calm murmur, stories shared in quiet tones that blend with the sounds of the night. These tales, passed from one to another, are more than entertainment. They are vessels of wisdom, memory, and hope, threads that bind people to each other and to the enduring land. Meals are simple but nourishing, often cooked over the embers with patience and gratitude. The aroma of coffee or herbal tea mingles with that of smoked meat or fresh bread, creating a comforting tapestry of scent that fills the cool air. Eating together by firelight becomes an act of community, a small celebration of life in a place where survival is woven from shared care and connection. The animals that accompany the travelers settle into their own rhythms. Horses lower their heads to graze softly or stand quietly, their breath steady and slow. Dogs curl close to their humans, alert yet relaxed, their presence a steady comfort against the vastness of the wild. The bond between human and beast deepens in these twilight hours, a silent conversation carried on through touch and attention. The sky above deepens into rich indigo, stars multiplying and twinkling like scattered gems. Constellations tell ancient stories, their shapes guiding those who travel by night. The Milky Way stretches wide, a luminous river flowing across the heavens, reminding all who watch of the vastness beyond and the delicate thread of life that connects earth to sky. Night brings its own sounds, a soft rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl, the whisper of wind across the prairie. These subtle voices form a nocturnal chorus that both soothes and alerts, a reminder that the wildness never truly rests. Those who live here learn to listen closely, discerning the language of night and moving with its quiet flow. Preparation for sleep is a gentle ritual. Tents are secured, blankets spread, and fires banked low to glow warmly through the night. The cool air encourages layering of clothing, and soft whispers exchange plans for the coming day. In these moments, the weight of the day lifts, replaced by a serene acceptance of rest's necessity. Even amid the solitude of the West, the night fosters a deep sense of connection to the land, to the stars, and to those gathered in the circle of firelight. It is a time when fears soften and hope takes root, nurtured by the steady pulse of life unfolding beneath the endless sky. Here, as darkness embraces the land, survival reveals its quiet heart, a blend of patience, presence, and reverence for the rhythms that sustain all living things. The story of the Wild West is etched not just in the grand gestures of history, but in these tender moments of twilight, where the wild and the gentle meet in harmonious balance. The deep stillness of night envelops the vast stretches of the Wild West, a profound quiet that feels both infinite and intimate. Beneath the canopy of stars, the world seems to pause. Time slows, breaths deepen, and the land exhales in a long, gentle sigh. In this enveloping darkness, survival takes on a softer, more introspective form, one rooted in presence, trust, and quiet strength. The camp rests under the watchful sky. Fires burn low, their embers casting a faint glow that dances in rhythm with the flickering shadows. The warmth of the flames offers comfort against the cool night air, and their light becomes a beacon of safety amid the vast unknown. Around these fires, whispers fade into silence, and the peaceful rhythm of sleep begins to spread like a gentle tide. Animals settle close to their human companions. Horses stand quietly, their breathing slow and steady, muscles relaxed after the day's exertions. Dogs curl beside tents or lean against weary legs, their vigilance softened by trust and familiarity. This companionship forms a circle of life and protection, a delicate web of connection that extends beyond words. The sky above is a masterpiece of cosmic artistry. Stars shimmer with ancient light, their constellations weaving stories that stretch back through time. The Milky Way arches gracefully across the heavens, a luminous river that invites contemplation and wonder. For many, this celestial display offers solace, a reminder of vastness, continuity, and the enduring mystery that cradles all existence. The sounds of the night create a subtle symphony. The soft rustling of leaves, the distant howl of a coyote, the occasional snap of a twig, all become part of an alert yet soothing soundtrack. Those who live in tune with the land learn to interpret these whispers, discerning between threat and tranquility, presence and passage. Sleep comes gently, wrapping the body and mind in restorative calm. It is a surrender to the land's rhythms, a momentary release from vigilance and effort. In these hours of rest, strength is renewed, muscles repair, and spirits find quietude. Sleep is both a refuge and a preparation, a vital thread woven into the fabric of survival. Yet even in rest, the mind often remains alert, attuned to the slightest change in the environment. A distant sound, a shift in the wind, a subtle movement in the shadows can stir the senses, a reminder that the wilderness holds secrets and challenges that demand respect and readiness. This delicate balance between rest and awareness is a learned art, one honed by experience and necessity. Dreams mingle with the silence, carrying echoes of the day's journeys and the deeper currents of hope, fear, and longing. They weave through memory and imagination, sometimes offering guidance, sometimes simply providing a space for the heart to wander and heal. In the quiet dark, the inner world expands, reflecting the vastness that surrounds it. The bond between those who share this life grows stronger in the night stillness. Trust is reinforced not just through words, but through shared presence, through the steady breathing beside one another, through the unspoken promise of support. In a land so wide and wild, these connections become lifelines, threads of safety and belonging spun gently through the darkness. The land itself seems to hold a sacred hush, as if honoring the cyclical dance of life and rest. It is a reminder that survival is not merely a matter of endurance, but also of harmony with the earth, with the skies, and with the quiet depths within. The wild demands respect, patience, and a willingness to listen deeply. As the night deepens and the stars wheel slowly overhead, the story of the Wild West continues in these tender, silent moments. It is a story not just of hardship, but of grace, resilience, and the enduring human spirit, woven softly through the vast, starlit tapestry of this timeless land. The faintest light begins to glow on the edge of the horizon, signaling the slow return of dawn to the vast wilderness of the Wild West. The world is poised between night and day, caught in a delicate balance where shadows linger, but hope stirs with the coming sun. This fragile moment invites a quiet stillness, a chance to breathe deeply and prepare for the unfolding journey ahead. The camp awakens gently. Soft movements ripple through the tents and shelters. Blankets are folded carefully, water is drawn from nearby sources, and quiet footsteps carry the promise of a new day. Horses nicker softly, stretching their limbs and shaking dew from their coats, their breaths mingling with the cool morning air. Dogs stir, their senses sharpening, ready to face the day alongside their human companions. The air is crisp and fresh, carrying the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. The sky slowly transforms from deep indigo to soft pastel hues, painting the clouds in gentle pinks and golds. This morning light seems to touch everything with a renewed tenderness, revealing the intricate details of the land, the delicate veins on leaves, the glistening dew on spiderwebs, the soft rustle of grass swaying in the breeze. Morning routines begin with a mindful pace. Water is collected with care, fires are rekindled, their smoke curling upward as if in quiet prayer. Meals are prepared simply but with gratitude. A stew warmed from the previous day, fresh coffee brewed over an open flame, bread broken and shared among companions. These rituals, though humble, anchor the spirit and forge bonds of community. The land itself feels alive in this early hour. Birds sing with joyous abandon, insects hum steadily, and small creatures emerge from their hiding places to greet the dawn. Each sound, each movement, is a note in the symphony of survival, a constant reminder that life here is a delicate interplay of countless beings and forces. Travelers prepare to set forth once again. Saddles are checked, packs are secured, and routes are planned with an eye toward water sources and shelter. The knowledge accumulated from seasons past guides these decisions. The whispers of the wind, the shape of the clouds, the subtle cues hidden in the landscape. Every choice carries weight, for it can mean the difference between hardship and safety. The partnership between humans and animals continues to deepen. Horses respond to gentle touch and steady voices, their strength and endurance vital to the miles yet to come. Dogs, ever vigilant, watch the horizon and alert to any sign of change. Together, they form a circle of trust and companionship, essential in a land where solitude often reigns. Seasonal changes leave their imprint on the land and the people. The warmth of spring encourages growth and renewal. Summer's heat demands resilience and care. Autumn's approach brings preparation and reflection. These cycles shape the rhythm of life, teaching patience and adaptability, qualities as crucial as any tool or weapon. The sky above serves as a timeless guide. Morning clouds drift lazily, the sun's rays begin to warm the earth, and the promise of a new day unfolds with gentle certainty. Weather patterns, once unpredictable and feared, become signals to heed. A storm's distant rumble, the shifting winds that whisper of rain or drought. Community remains a vital thread in this fabric of survival. Messages are exchanged, aid offered, and stories shared. These connections, though sometimes fleeting, offer strength and comfort, a reminder that even in the wildest places, no one is truly alone. As light spreads fully across the land, the day's journey begins anew. Each step taken is part of a larger story, a story of endurance, respect, and the quiet courage found in walking gently upon the earth. The Wild West, with all its challenges and beauty, continues to teach those who listen. Survival is a dance of presence, patience, and profound connection to the world around. In this soft, awakening hour, the land holds its breath, inviting all who dwell within it to move forward with grace and gratitude, carrying the timeless lessons of the West into the unfolding day. The morning sun rises steadily, casting a warm golden light that slowly spills across the rugged landscape of the Wild West. The shadows retreat, revealing the textured earth, dusty trails winding through sagebrush, weathered rocks softened by time, and distant hills glowing softly in the early light. The world stirs to life with a quiet dignity, each moment unfolding with gentle inevitability. Travelers set out with measured steps, their senses tuned to the nuances of the land. The air carries the mingled scents of dry earth, wild grasses, and distant pine, a fragrant reminder of the vastness and diversity that surround them. The ground beneath their feet shifts subtly, soft sand giving way to packed dirt, scattered stones crunching with each step. Awareness of these changes guides their pace, helping them conserve energy and avoid injury. The rhythm of the day is shaped by the steady sun, climbing higher and warming the air. Travelers seek out shade whenever possible, a lone cottonwood by a creek, the shelter of a rocky overhang, or the thin canopy of juniper trees. These pockets of relief offer moments to rest and listen, to observe the small signs that reveal the land's mood and hidden resources. Water remains the most precious treasure. Streams glisten invitingly, though sometimes they are but trickles hidden beneath layers of sand and rock. Wells, when found, become sanctuaries where horses drink deeply and travelers refill their canteens. The knowledge of where to find these lifelines is often hard-won, passed down through whispered stories or learned by patient observation of animal trails and vegetation. Food gathering continues as both art and necessity. Hunters move with quiet patience, their eyes sharp for the flicker of movement among the brush. Tracks in soft soil tell stories of deer grazing, rabbits darting, or coyotes prowling. Foragers bend low, carefully selecting roots, berries, and herbs, each chosen with a practiced eye for safety and nourishment. The land's bounty is generous but requires respect and restraint to ensure its continuation. The bond between humans and animals grows stronger with each mile. Horses, partners in every sense, respond to gentle commands and attentive care. Their breathing, soft and rhythmic, becomes a comforting constant, a tether to the land and its rhythms. Dogs, ever alert and loyal, patrol the edges of camp and trail, their keen senses an early warning against unseen dangers. The landscape, though sometimes harsh, offers moments of breathtaking beauty. Wildflowers bloom in unexpected patches, delicate bursts of color amid the muted greens and browns. Birds soar overhead, their wings catching the light as they circle above distant ridges. These glimpses of life's persistence inspire quiet awe and renewal of spirit. The heat of the day intensifies, urging caution and mindfulness. Travelers adjust their clothing to shield against the sun's rays and wrap scarves to guard against dust stirred by shifting winds. Every choice, when to move, where to rest, how to conserve energy, is a small act of wisdom forged through experience and respect for the land's demands. Community connections, though sparse and sometimes separated by great distances, remain vital. Messages carried by riders, brief encounters at watering holes, and shared knowledge sustain those who traverse these wild lands. Trust once earned becomes a precious lifeline, a thread of human warmth woven through the vastness. As the afternoon unfolds, the land itself seems to breathe, shifting in light and shadow, scent and sound. Travelers move with a growing sense of harmony, their steps and breaths aligned with the earth's own steady pulse. Survival here is less about force and more about listening, attuning to the subtle conversations between wind and leaf, animal and trail, heart and horizon. In this unfolding afternoon, the Wild West reveals its enduring lessons. Resilience born of patience, strength born of humility, and hope nurtured in quiet moments of connection. The journey continues, carried forward by gentle determination and the timeless rhythm of life beneath the endless sky. The sun dips lower, casting a warm amber glow that stretches long shadows across the rugged terrain of the Wild West. The air begins to cool, carrying with it the faint, earthy scent of the day's heat, slowly fading into evening. This transition from day to dusk brings with it a subtle shift, a softening of the land's harsh edges, and a gentle invitation to rest and reflect. Travelers pause to catch their breath, seeking the refuge of shade beneath weathered trees or nestled among rocky outcrops. The fading light filters through branches, dappling the ground in patterns that dance quietly with the breeze. In these moments, time feels suspended, the steady rhythm of travel yielding to the slower pulse of observation and calm. Horses lower their heads to graze softly, their movements slow and deliberate after the day's exertion. Their breaths rise in gentle clouds in the cooling air, a quiet testament to endurance and trust. Dogs stretch and settle close by, their eyes watchful but relaxed, ever attuned to the land's subtle sounds and scents. Water sources become the focus of renewed attention. Streams shimmer in the fading light, their gentle babble offering a soothing soundtrack. Travelers refill their containers, quenching thirst and replenishing strength. Every drop is precious, a lifeline that sustains both body and spirit in this vast, demanding landscape. Food is prepared with care, often by the glow of a fire whose flames flicker against the encroaching dusk. Simple meals, smoked meats, fresh bread, wild herbs steeped into tea, nourish and comfort, their aromas weaving into the cool evening air. Sharing these moments fosters connection, grounding individuals in community and shared purpose. The land itself seems to breathe in the quiet. The rustle of leaves, the distant call of a night bird, the soft crunch of footsteps on dry earth, all merge into a subtle symphony that envelops those who listen. This chorus of twilight carries lessons in patience, presence, and the enduring cycles of nature. As stars begin to emerge, the sky unfolds its vast tapestry, pinpricks of light that have guided travelers for generations. Constellations tell ancient stories, their patterns offering both direction and inspiration. The Milky Way arches gracefully, a luminous ribbon that connects Earth to cosmos, past to future. Preparation for night follows a practiced rhythm. Tents are secured, fires banked low to maintain warmth without drawing undue attention, and animals settled for rest. Clothing layers are adjusted against the cooling air, blankets unfolded and shared. These rituals are acts of care and mindfulness, essential to meeting the night's challenges. Conversations grow softer, voices blending with the natural sounds of the evening. Stories are exchanged, not just of hardships endured, but of moments of beauty and grace discovered along the way. These narratives become a shared heritage, weaving individual experiences into the broader fabric of life in the West. The solitude of the land invites reflection. In the quiet spaces between voices and sounds, the heart finds room to breathe and the mind to wander. This solitude is not loneliness, but a profound connection to the self and the vastness surrounding it. A space where resilience is nurtured and hope quietly kindled. As darkness deepens and the fire's glow flickers low, the Wild West reveals once more its enduring truth. Survival is not merely a matter of strength or speed, but of patience, respect, and an abiding harmony with the land's eternal rhythms. In this balance lies a gentle power, a power that sustains and carries forward the spirit of those who call this wild, beautiful place home. The deep night settles over the Wild West like a soft velvet cloak, wrapping the land in profound stillness. The stars above blaze with quiet brilliance, their silver light casting a gentle glow across the rolling hills and whispering grasses. In this sacred darkness, time seems to slow, and the vastness of the sky draws the eyes upward, inviting contemplation and quiet wonder. Around the few remaining campfires, embers glow faintly, their warmth a steady heartbeat against the cool air. The crackling whispers of flames are the last companions before sleep descends fully. Travelers rest in tents or beneath open skies, their bodies softened by exhaustion and their minds drifting toward dreams shaped by the day's journey and the hopes that carry them forward. Horses stand calmly nearby, their breath visible in the chill night, ears twitching softly to catch the faintest sounds. Dogs, faithful and alert, nestle close, ready to raise their voices if the quiet is broken by an unexpected visitor. This shared watchfulness is a delicate dance, a blend of trust, instinct, and the ever-present awareness that the wilderness holds both beauty and danger. The night air carries subtle melodies, the distant howl of a lone coyote, the gentle rustle of leaves stirred by a whispering breeze, the faint tapping of an owl surveying its realm. These sounds weave a lullaby unique to this land, a soothing backdrop that cradles the soul and reminds those who listen of life's continuous flow. Sleep arrives softly, a gift after long hours of vigilance and movement. It brings renewal, healing the body and quieting the restless mind. In this deep rest, strength is gathered for the challenges of the coming day, and the spirit finds solace in the embrace of the earth and sky. Yet even in sleep, the connection to the land remains profound. Dreams carry echoes of the wilderness, the shimmering heat of midday, the cool shade of ancient trees, the endless stretch of horizon under vast skies. They mingle past and present, weaving memories and hopes into a tapestry as rich and complex as the land itself. The bond between people deepens in these silent hours. Though words are few, the shared experience of living close to the wild fosters a profound sense of community. Trust is woven through quiet presence, through the simple assurance that someone watches beside you under the stars. The vastness of the night sky offers perspective, a reminder of life's smallness and significance simultaneously. It humbles and inspires, encouraging a gentle reverence for the mysteries that lie beyond sight and understanding. In this quiet, the heart learns patience and the courage to continue the journey. As the hours pass, the land breathes with a steady rhythm, a timeless pulse that has carried countless souls before and will carry many more after. The Wild West, in its silent grandeur, teaches that survival is not just a matter of endurance, but of harmony with the earth, the sky, and the quiet depths within. And so, wrapped in darkness and starlight, the story of the West continues, a story told not just in grand events, but in the tender, steady moments of night, where the wild and the gentle meet, and the spirit finds its quiet strength. The first faint blush of dawn begins to break over the horizon, painting the vast Wild West with soft hues of pink and gold. The world stirs gently, awakening from the deep embrace of night, as if the land itself is sighing in relief and readiness for a new beginning. This delicate moment holds the promise of renewal, an invitation to step once more into the endless dance between survival and grace. The cool morning air carries the scent of dew-kissed grasses and the distant warmth of earth turning beneath the sun's gentle gaze. Travelers rise quietly, their movements slow and deliberate, honoring the sacred rhythm of rest and renewal. The horses stretch and nicker softly, eager but calm, sensing the day's unfolding promise. Dogs shake off sleep and settle close, ready for the journey ahead. Morning rituals unfold with a practiced ease, water drawn fresh and clear, fires rekindled with patient hands, simple meals prepared to nourish body and spirit alike. These acts, humble yet profound, anchor the soul and create a space for connection amid the vastness. Shared glances and soft words weave a tapestry of trust and companionship, a vital lifeline in the wild expanse. The land reveals itself anew in the gentle light, every detail illuminated with clarity and wonder. The texture of weathered rocks, the delicate curve of wildflower petals, the intricate patterns left by passing animals, all tell stories of resilience and continuity. To live here is to become part of this intricate web, to move with respect and attentiveness through a world both fierce and tender. The sun rises steadily, warming the earth and casting long shadows that shift and dance as the day progresses. Travelers set forth once again, their steps guided by knowledge and intuition honed through countless seasons. The trail ahead is both challenge and opportunity, a canvas on which the story of survival continues to unfold. Water remains the silent heartbeat of the land, drawing all living things into its sacred circle. Streams and springs glisten invitingly, their presence a gift not taken for granted. Each sip, each careful ration, is a reminder of life's fragility and the deep connection between human and earth. Food gathering and preparation continue as acts of gratitude and care. The knowledge of edible plants, hunting skills, and preservation techniques form a living heritage, passed quietly from hand to hand, woven into the fabric of daily life. Each meal carries with it the taste of survival and the hope of sustenance for days to come. The partnership between humans and animals remains at the core of this existence. Horses carry their riders with steadfast strength. Dogs offer companionship and protection. These bonds, forged in sweat and quiet moments alike, speak of mutual respect and shared endurance. The sky stretches wide and endless, a constant companion that shifts with the hours. Clouds drift lazily, birds soar high, and the sun arcs gracefully across the blue expanse. Weather patterns, both gentle and fierce, shape the rhythm of life, each day a new lesson in adaptation and humility. Community, though often distant, pulses through the land like an unseen thread. Messages exchanged, aid offered, stories shared, they remind all who dwell here that even in solitude, connection is never far away. This network of trust and support is a foundation upon which resilience is built. As the day unfolds, the Wild West reveals its timeless truth. Survival is not a conquest but a collaboration with the land, the creatures, and the quiet spirit within. It is a journey of patience, respect, and profound presence, a gentle unfolding that carries all who walk its trails toward belonging and peace. And so, beneath the vast, ever-changing sky, the story of the Wild West continues, woven through countless dawns and dusks, whispered by the wind, and etched softly into the heart of all who dare to listen and live within its embrace.